I see here we have Kelly, Professor Radke, and then we have maybe 18 students, 17. Okay. So can I maybe at least initially see everyone's face? And because it's not fair, right? You get to see me and I don't get to see you. So, I'm going to start by maybe asking everyone to introduce themselves, starting with their name. So let me write here so you remember. So we're asking for your name, your degree that you are, because I understand some of you might be actually currently in the master's program, but might be curious about the PhD. So just mention you are in the PhD or master's program, and also your area of interest. So I don't know if you're familiar with the areas of interest in the department, like the names that we use, but you can use that, or you can just say control theory or control systems or robotics or computer vision or networking. So it doesn't need to be long because we kind of also need to keep track of time. So just name, degree, area of interest, and if you have an intended advisor like on file, like formally, and whether you are a TA or an RA or neither. Okay, so I'm putting these things here in the chat so you remember what are the things we're asking about. Okay, so let me see. So I'm, of course, Hussein Abu Zaid. I'm the Graduate Program Director, and my area of research is computer networking. And yeah, so I'm going to, I can't say, the name is not always there. Sometimes I see the email. So I'm going to call you either your email or your name. Biswas.
Hello,
Hi.
I'm Subhashish Kumar Vishwas. I have completed my master's from McMaster University, Canada. My research interests are on photonics. Currently, I will be working as a TA in this semester.
Great. Perfect. Thank you. Jason?
Hello, I'm actually a master's student at RPI that's matriculating into the PhD program. My advisor is Professor Hella. I'm interested in integrated circuit design.
Great. And Chauncey?
Good afternoon, everybody. My name is Chauncey Upshur. I am sorry, kind of forgot. I'm a doctorate degree. My area of interest is artificial intelligence. My advisor is Dr. Statiago, and then I am a RA. Thank you for having me.
Thank you. And Chauncey, you might need front lighting because you have light from the back, so we don't see you. Just for the future. If you look at your picture, it's hard to see. Okay, next is Christopher.
Unmute. Hi, I'm Chris. I'm in the PhD program. My area of interest, I think, at least right now, is robotics and control systems and automation. I think I haven't picked my advisor yet, but I am a teaching assistant this semester.
Okay, great. And yeah, people are moving around, so I might lose some the order. Lawrence.
Hi, I'm Lawrence. I'm in the PhD program. My area of interest is like power systems and renewable energy, and I'm TAing this semester.
Great. Chenlong.
I'm Chen Long. So I'm in PhD program. I got my master in National Jiao Tong University from Taiwan, and I'm grateful to have the RA funding from Professor John Wen. So my area of interest is in robotics and control.
Great, thank you. And Linson?
Hi, I'm Linson. Yeah, I finished my undergraduate and co-terminal program in RPI, and currently I study with Professor Tong Zhang, and my area of interest is computer system design.
Great, thanks. I'm not seeing the full name. Is it Mohammed Shami? And then I don't see the rest of the name, sorry.
Yes, it's me.
Yes, Shami.
Hi, I'm Shamimul. I have completed my master's from South Dakota School of Mines and Technology. Here I'm in PhD program, and my area of interest is power and energy system. And my advisor is Dr. Luigi Benfretti, and I'm a RA at Alset Lab. Thank you.
Thanks. Okay. Okay, another person who I don't see their full name. Wait, is my screen too small? Let me see. Okay. Mohaimino, I think is the first name. Yes.
Hi, I'm Mohaiminul Al Nahyan. I'm a PhD student here, and my area of interest is machine learning and computer vision. I haven't picked my advisor yet, and I'm serving as a TA. Thank you.
Thank you. And Mohammed, and then NI something. If you unmute, I see the full name.
Hello,
Nizam.
everyone.
Nizam. Okay.
My name is Mohammad Nizamul Haq. I have completed my master's from University of Texas, Rio Grande Valley. Here I am enrolled in PhD program, and my area of interest is computer networking and wireless sensor networks, and I will be working as a TA. Thank you.
Thank you. And I think this Segerstrom is your last name.
Hi, yes.
Yes.
Hi, my name is Eric Segerstrom. I just started my PhD this summer, working mostly in power systems and control and automation. I'm working with Dr. Luigi Manfredi as an RA.
Okay, thank you. And Paul Sudipta or Sudipta Paul?
Hello everyone. So my name is Sudipta Paul. So I did my master's from University of Minnesota Duluth. So I will be joining in my PhD program. So I have enrolled in my PhD program, and my areas of interest are like machine learning, deep learning, and computer vision. And so I have started working as a TA. So I have also started talking with Professor Bullen TNR to work with him. Yeah, so that's a bit of myself. Thank you.
Okay. Remind me to mention something about when your advisor is from outside the department. It's perfectly fine, but there are some guidelines, so to keep in mind. Okay. I mean, of course, Professor Yenner is also associated, has a joint affiliation with us, so which also adds some constraints. So we'll talk about that. Okay. Yunshi?
Hello everyone, my
okay,
name is Junqi, and I obtained my bachelor degree at Union College and my master degree at UC Santa Barbara. My area of interest would be image processing and machine learning. I'm a PhD student here, and I'm on TA appointment this term.
Okay, thank you. Ziryu or Zirui?
Oh, hi everyone. I'm Ziwei Yan, and I'm from China, and I have a bachelor's degree in statistics. I will work with Professor Ali Tajir, and my research interest will be in machine learning and signal processing. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay. This is like a game here. People are moving around. Zhengqi? Zhengqi?
Hi everyone, my name is Zheng Ye. I'm a new PhD student in RPI, and I got my a master degree at Columbia University, and my main research focus on the computer vision and deep learning. I will work as RA under the supervision of Professor Reki this semester.
Okay, thank you. Next is Benjamin.
Hi everyone, my name is Benjamin Lee. I'm a new PhD student, and my area of interest is control, autonomous systems, robotics, and I'll be working as a TA this semester.
Excellent, thank you. Miguel Aguilera.
Hello, my name is Miguel Aguilera. I got my bachelor's in University of Costa Rica. Then I also completed the master degree in KTH, the Royal Institute of Technology in Sweden. And my advisor will be Professor Luigi Manfretti. So I'm interested in electric power engineering.
Excellent, thank you. Son J 11 at rpi.edu. I don't know the name.
Hello, I'm Javi. Yeah, I'm first year PhD in RPI, and my advisor is Professor Wang. And I focus on machine learning and signal processing. That's all. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Chan Jiao.
Hello, I'm Chen Xiao, and I'm the first year PhD student in RPI, and I will work with Professor Tianyi Chen as RA, and my research interest is mathematical optimization, and that's all.
Great, thank you. Next is Yating Zhu.
Hello, everyone. My name is Yating, and I got my master's degree from Tsinghua University, and I joined a PhD program here. My advisor is Professor Meng Wang, and my research areas include deep learning, signal processing, and data analytics. Nice to meet you. Thank you.
Thank you. Nice to meet you too. Okay, who did I miss? I'm sure I missed somebody. Okay, Yunshi Wen.
Yeah, so hi, I'm Yunshi Wen, and my written is in.
We can't hear you well.
Sorry, can you hear me now?
Yeah.
Yeah, so my name is Yunshi Wen, and my research interest is in autonomous systems and reinforcement learning, and my advisor is Dr. Julius, and I will be doing working as a TA next semester. Yeah, thank you.
Great, thanks. Everyone is interested in reinforcement learning. So, well, yours with application and control. Okay, so who else? Who else did I miss? Nobody. Okay, not too bad. I missed only one person. Okay. So we have Professor Radke, and we also have, I think, Sergio, who I did not call upon because he is a representative of the Graduate Student Council. So thanks for attending. Okay, so and you know, Sergio and Professor Radke and of course Kelly, please feel free to jump in. I'm going to try and cover as much as I can without kind of inundating everyone with a lot of information, but also if you think that I missed something or misspoke something, please feel free to you know, clarify and correct. I'm going to share some slides. Just to help organize my thoughts, and I think, yeah. Okay. Hope you can see. Yeah. Okay, so yeah, it's not February 3rd. Okay, I always have some typo somewhere. All right, so It's frozen. Didn't start. Okay, there we go. Okay, so here's the plan. Some of this we already mentioned, and some of this is there for your info, but I'm going to skim through because they have been covered in some other sessions. So starting with the office. So again, myself, Professor Dada, Professor Radke, who will take over from Professor Dada at some point. And of course, Kelly, who is your main contact and your greatest supporter as well. So as I mentioned earlier today in the morning, or in the afternoon, any forms, they go to Kelly first. Also, we are your first stop, basically. So we are, each department has a graduate program services office, and that connects between the department and the central office of graduate education. So any issues you have, you should try and not go there directly, but rather go through the department first. Okay? If you go there, they'll email us saying, hey, a student came to us. Why are they not going to you? They know that you are there, and so on and so forth, and they will transfer the issue or whatever question you have to us. Because of course they are not able to handle all questions directly from students from all departments across the university. Okay, so forms, we used to have student mailboxes in the actual rooms, but now that has changed. So I'm actually not sure how we're handling your mail these days. So I'll inquire. Funding questions, issues that come up with anything, with your TA job or with your RA, with your communication with your advisor, you should come to us. We are also bound to confidentiality, so you can come to us and say, I have a question, I have the situation with my advisor or with my instructor, and I don't know how to handle that. And we can advise you without going to the faculty and saying, hey, so-and-so is complaining. We don't do that. So we, between the four of us, we may discuss among us because we have the same database, but we're not going to send it out. Of course, if you come to us with a life-threatening or legally requiring that we report it, when somebody's putting their life in danger or something like that, then we will take action. But usually in day-to-day situations, we'll keep it confidential. Okay, so let's get to business. So of course there are several degree programs. A master's program, PhD program. The PhD program, each one of you will have, and that I will skim through because I assume that Kelly has discussed the details with you earlier today. But the PhD program is 72 credit hours beyond the bachelor's degree. So half of those, at least half of those have to be courses. So up to half of these can be dissertation credits. So if you accumulate more dissertation credits than 36, you can only use a maximum of 36 towards your degree. So there is a difference between what you can use towards the degree and what you're just taking. And that's why we need a plan of study. So you have 72 credit hours beyond the bachelor's, that's the requirement, and a minimum of 36 course credit hours. And the PhD, if you already have a master's, let's say you have a master's from USTC in China, or University of, I don't know, I mentioned a university in Texas or something. So that transfers to 24 credits. Okay, so 72, instead of 72, it transfers to 24 credits, so you still have to take 48 credits beyond the master's degree. So that means also, and of these you can have, because 36 of them, up to 36 can be thesis, so you have to have at least 12 course credits. So most graduate level courses, most courses in general are 3 credit hours. So if you divide 12 course credits divided by 3 course credit hours each course, then you get that you will have to have at least 4 courses as a PhD student, even if you have a master's degree. Many of you will take even more because you want to, or because you're curious and so on, and that's perfectly fine. So PhD students usually take between 12 and 15 credits total among both dissertation and courses per semester. So now typical time to graduate after the bachelor's degree for the PhD usually take between 3 and 5 years. Now that's not the limit, that's just the typical numbers. So of course, the nature of the work that you're doing your research advisor, academic advisor approach to doing research, all of that affects how long it takes. And of course, the PhD is about research, so it's not time served, it's actually results produced. So, so there is a time to degree limit that the institute sets, and we'll talk about that. So, okay, so the question that I asked earlier, and I think this again is mentioned, was discussed, I think, addressed by Kelly about proper registration. So, but I will sort of mention the high points again. You need to be properly registered. If you're an international student, you must be full-time. The university usually allows only full-time status. There's no, I don't think any of you is a part-time PhD student. So you really need to be full-time. So what does full-time mean? Depends on whether you're a TA or RA. Most of you are either a TA or a RA. So so whether you're master's or PhD, all of you are PhD students. The full-time status requires a certain minimum and allows a certain maximum. The maximum is 16. So you cannot register for more than 16 credits. So your tuition waiver supports that you register for up to 16. The minimum depends on your status, whether you're a TA or an RA or self-pay. So if you are a TA, you need to be registered for 9 credits, okay, and minimum. And for a RA or self-pay, you need to be registered for 12 minimum. So you can see there is a gap between the 9 and the 16, or the 12 and the 16. So we recommend that you register an extra course at the beginning of the semester, and remember to drop it before the drop deadline. And I think, again, Kelly mentioned that earlier. But please remember, I mean, just please remember to drop it. So you add it as a buffer in case after a week, 2 weeks, you realize that the course you registered for is not what you thought it's going to be, one of the courses that you registered for, or you're not doing well in it, or you maybe don't really have the prerequisites that you thought you had. So you have some flexibility in dropping a course before the drop deadline, or the homeworks are too hard for you, or the early exam, first midterm exam is not very, you're worried about it. So that gives you a flexibility for in the courses that you registered for to drop one. So that's what we recommend, that if the minimum is 9 because you're a TA, register for 12. If the minimum is 12 because you're an RA, register for 15. And even if with the intention of dropping one of the courses before the drop deadline. And that it leaves no record in your transcript whatsoever. Okay. So that's it. That's so just that's it. Properly registered means 9 credits for if you're a TA and 12 credits for an RA. Those credits could be any courses, combination of courses or dissertation, any combination. Of course, you know that you can only use up to, so we'll go through that, but every semester you'll see whether you want to take, you should discuss, of course, the credits with your advisor, because if you are an RA specifically, let's say the minimum is 12, you're in your first semester, many PhD advisors will ask you to take 2 or 3 courses, and the rest would be dissertation, where you would be doing some reading, getting to know your field, and so on. Okay, so okay. Now, because of this COVID situation, if you are a first-year international graduate student, we might go, I don't know what will happen, okay? So we might go to courses that are, right now everything is in person, so this is not an issue, okay? But if we go to online and so on, you need to have some courses that are either in person or hybrid. But all of these count, so you're most likely covered. If you have any dissertation credits, you're good. If you have any thesis research like masters, if you have any project credits, if you have independent study, this is all considered in person or hybrid. Even if we go to online mode, because I don't want you to get suddenly scared because an email was sent and you feel like, oh, is my full-time status jeopardized because we went online? Okay. No, you're good. Okay. If you have any of these, you will be covered. Okay. So don't panic when you get these messages that are blast messages from some office. You know, always confirm with us. So I'm giving you a heads up just in case we go online.
Mind in real quick?
Yeah, please.
The other thing to mention too is I know I talked with a couple of you who are TAs and you're probably only doing regular courses. If we were to switch to an online model after like the ad period, I would imagine, I can't say this for sure, but I would imagine that you would still be okay as well if you don't have one of these, because of the fact that it's kind of out of your control at that point. And ISSS will give us some kind of direction on how that would work if we go into that kind of a mode after a time when you would be able to change around your registration.
Yes. And ISSS, by the way, is a fantastic office. They're really very good. They understand international student situations. They organize workshops and so on. Feel free to reach out to them if something happens. Right now, of course, we're good, but you know, who knows? Now, if you're a PhD advisor, if you're a PhD student and you have no advisor at the moment, you need to be looking for an advisor, which means looking at research areas, contacting faculty actively, and try to find an advisor. Because having a research advisor as a PhD student is part of being in good standing. Okay? And being in good standing is required so that you continue to receive support and you continue to be in the program. So you cannot sit in the program taking courses, getting straight A's, and you think you're doing well, but you're not making progress on your PhD. So the one difference between a PhD and any of the other degrees that you might have had in the past, like bachelor's or master's, is that a PhD you cannot get by coursework. Coursework only does not give you a PhD. So straight A's does not give you a PhD. You need a research, you need dissertation, you need to push the state of the art in a certain field. And that requires an advisor to guide you and to confirm at the end that that has happened, and a committee to confirm that that has happened. So advisor is very, 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 very important. And the sooner you get an advisor, the better. So right now, if you are, let's say, a TA and you don't have an advisor, some of you are TAs and have identified an advisor already, even before coming. Okay. But some of you might not. And that is a double-edged sort of thing, because great, you are free to choose, but the downside is you haven't chosen. So you need to find someone. And it's not a choice like you say, I want to work with X. Also, X has to say that they want to work with you. Okay, so it goes both ways. So you really need to reach out. The faculty, when they take on a student as an advisee, it's a responsibility. So they need to get to understand who you are, that they work with you, that the intercommunication is good, and of course that your skills and background match the research area that they're looking for. So start that early. And there's nothing wrong in sending a very nice email saying, hello, Professor so-and-so, I have looked at your website, I'm interested in the research area. Is there a possibility to join your group? I'm currently a TA. And they'll respond to you. If they don't respond to you, you can send a kind reminder, maybe one. If they don't respond to the second reminder, probably then maybe they have a full group, they're busy, whatever, so just let us know. But keep track, because if you sign up with me as a temporary advisor for your first semester, because let's say you want to have 12 hours to be full-time registration, and you're going to take 2 courses, 3 each, so 3 plus 3, that's 6, and you need 3 credits of dissertation with me, I'm going to ask you to report to me regularly. First, you have to ask me to do that, and then you'll sign up with me for those 3 credits. And even if your research is not in my field and you're still looking for an advisor, you're going to have to tell me who you have contacted so that I can see that you're really actively pursuing a research advisor. Okay, don't sign up with any faculty as an advisor, including myself, without getting their permission. Because what will happen is at the end of the semester, they'll see this in their, they have to enter a grade in the SIS. In the case of a dissertation, it's only a satisfactory, unsatisfactory. And if they don't know and they didn't give permission, they'll give you an unsatisfactory, which is essentially a failing grade, like an equivalent of a failing grade. So you don't want an unsatisfactory on your transcript. Okay, any questions so far about registration? I think, further details might have been discussed with you earlier with Kelly, but just overall, do you have any questions about advisor choice and so on? We will, if we don't have an advisor for you on file, we will keep pinging you. Yeah, we'll keep pinging you because we expect an advisor on file for sure, during the first semester. And, advisors or faculty also know that if you're a TA, you're searching for an advisor, you're talking to multiple faculty at the same time. We know, we do this every semester, right? So don't feel any awkwardness or, in talking to multiple faculty at the same time. Since you're still exploring, they know that you are exploring, and they know that you'll reach out to them. In fact, they're expecting that you would, if you don't have an advisor, would be reaching out to the faculty.
If I could just say a few words on top of that.
Yeah.
So first, a couple of things. One is that, don't expect to lock down your advisor this week. Especially in the first couple weeks of classes and the first time that many of us are coming back to the physical classroom, people are going to be super busy. So don't be offended if people don't go back to you immediately, and don't worry about that. It may take a little bit of time to make contact with people. Try not to rush the process too much. Second thing is that please do, as Dr. Abuzaid said, shop around if you don't have an advisor already, because I have met many students who have kind of put all their eggs in one basket. They're like, okay, I want to work with you. I'm only talking to you. I've never talked to anybody else. And, maybe I don't have the resources to support, as many students as want to work with me, right? So it's important that you diversify your search. And as Dr. Abuzaid said, realize that it's a two-way street. Not only do you want to work with somebody, but the other person has to have the interest in the resources in the project to work with you. And I don't think it comes up very often, but one comment is that, in the very beginning of your PhD study, if someone picks you up as a student, they will probably have something fairly specific in mind for you to work on. It's not like you can come in and say, I want to do reinforcement learning and apply it to X, right? The advisor that you sign on with may not have the funding to support you to do that particular project, right? So you may need to work on something else before you kind of veer it around to something that you and your advisor are both mutually interested in. So it's not like you come in with a project fully formed and you get to do that for your PhD. A lot of times the advisor is going to kind of say, okay, first we're going to do this, right? And then eventually we will, get around to saying where you are the one who drives the research. And the last thing I wanted to mention is that Dr. Abuzaid was going to say something about advisors who are outside the department. Did you want to talk about that here?
Oh, yes. So it is perfectly okay also to find a PhD advisor outside the department, but you're still an ECSE student. So you have to follow the policies of an ECSE PhD student that we will talk about, because different departments have their own policies.
And that really shouldn't be your first choice. Like, you should really exhaust the possibilities of ECSE, I think, before going outside the department, just because, as Dr. Arbus had said, you are our student, and a professor from mechanical engineering or even computer science outside the School of Engineering entirely is not going to know about our policies, and will not be educating you in engineering necessarily the way that we want you to be educated. So so I think that it's not uncommon, but it's also not something that you should be doing like right away. I think that first you should explore ECSE faculty, look around, and only look outside the department if you feel like you just can't find somebody here.
Yes, and if a faculty has no affiliation with the department, they cannot alone chair your committee. So we'll talk a little bit about that, but there is something called the PhD committee, and the chair is usually your advisor, okay, who has to be a full-time tenured or tenure track faculty in the department. That's actually an institute policy. So if your advisor, research advisor, is outside the department, you still have to have an advisor from the department, and they both will co-chair your PhD committee. So we'll talk about that. Okay, so the other thing is that these credits that you take with a faculty, like a dissertation credits, I just want to mention that it's not for free. If you're taking 3 credits with a faculty as dissertation credits, you should expect to put the time for that. Even if it's a temporary advisor, some sort of follow-up or regular meeting where you would report back on your effort in that vein, okay, for that purpose. Okay, so, all right, so moving on. Add and drop deadlines, should be careful with these. Until September 13th this semester, you can add courses. The drop deadline is October 22nd. Most faculty will have a midterm or some sort of a major exam before October 22nd, so you can assess your performance compared to the rest of the class. And if you decide to drop the course, you will drop it. The only thing is, if the drop, if let's say on October 20th or so, you want to drop a course, but that course will bring you below the minimum credits, which is 9 for a TA and 12 for an RA, you cannot drop that course. Even if you're going to get a failing grade, of course, you don't know that yet, but you should put the effort to not have that happen. But you should not be dropping a course if it's going to bring you below the full-time status. Because that will raise a flag, and at the end of the semester, great, you'll have a good GPA, but you don't have full-time status. You'll be asked to leave. Not just leave RPI, you'll be asked to leave the country if you're an international student. If you're not an international student, a US student, then you're out of, then you're not in good standing. Okay, so late adds are not permitted, so you cannot fix the problem by adding. Okay, so before the drop deadline, you can drop, but you cannot add if it's past September 13th. And most of the trouble that I see is when students are between these two dates. Okay, and they have not added initially any courses just as a buffer or a backup, so they're stuck. Okay, so now TA assignments. So most of you have already, I think all of you have received TA assignments. They might have, no, not yet. So TA assignments usually are announced pretty late, like the Sunday before the school starts. In the past, we used to have a Sunday 5 p.m. meeting where the TAs go meet Professor James Liu, who assigns the TAs to the courses or makes with your preferences as much as possible, and your background and the course requirements. And you get the assignment usually in a meeting in the past on Sunday. Now you get it over email. So even after the assignment is done, there could be some changes during the first week because of various things, some fine tuning. But that will affect only maybe a couple of you, if anybody. So, okay, so this has not been done yet. Now, yeah, so that's not an issue. You need to register so that financial aid is entered in the system. So even if you change your course selections, that's perfectly fine. But you need to enter something. Okay, so this is now research areas. So the best way to know about the research areas is to go to this web page. So share that too. Okay, so we've organized our research areas into this hexagon. So let's say you're interested in communications and networking. So you click on that and you get a description of what it means. Usually you already know what it means. And you'll see some core faculty and some affiliated faculty. This is usually not very up to date. It's up to date up to, let's say, a year ago or so. Things keep changing. But let's say you want to know about my research, so we'd go read something which is very brief, doesn't really tell you what I'm doing. So each faculty usually has a web page. You go to the web page, you can check the research areas or publications and so on, and see if that, interests you. And usually when you contact the faculty, they want to know that you have some vague idea about what they're doing. So maybe you're interested in a paper that they had, you can look at the titles, and if you're interested, click through or something like this. So, so do that homework before you contact the faculty so that your email to them would be better received. So let's say mission systems, and since Professor Redke is here, go to his webpage.
Putting me on the spot.
something. And you can see research, lots of exciting things. Videos, publications, you can take a look at a couple, see what he's interested or his research is focused on recently, and so on. So
one thing to keep in mind, although I mean, there's nothing you could do about it, but keep in mind that a publication could take from 6 months to 2 years to appear, right? So some of what you're seeing on someone's publication page, even if it says 2020 or 2021, could be something the professor has not been working on lately, right? So it's good to express this interest and to show the curiosity, but keep in mind also if you say, I want to work on this thing that you did in 2019, it's possible the person has moved on, right? So the general areas are what's are important, I think.
yeah, so try actually to be as, the more flexible you are, the better about your research interests. So show that you know, but also don't be too tightly committed to a very, very, very particular research problem. Because it's most likely the faculty is interested in something that they haven't done yet. So you will not find it. So you should be open to exploration. Okay, so I need to go back to the PowerPoint. Actually, that will let me. Sharing two. Okay, yeah. Okay, so that's how you can explore the different research areas and contact faculty. Plan of study and program forms, I'm going to skip that. So this is, you've learned today with Kelly how to fill the plan of study and how to come up with a valid plan of study, and that you need to update it every time it changes. So I'm going to skip that stuff. Now, TA, but it's very important. Okay, so you have to have a plan of study on file within the next. What deadline do you have? When is the plan of study due?
September 10th.
Okay, well, they should know. Okay, September 10th, I hoped somebody would say September 10th. September 10th is when you need to fill out the plan of study form. There are examples available. Kelly is there, and you can, it's simple. Just fill in a valid plan of study and submit it. It has to have some signatures on it, your advisor, and then it goes to Kelly, and then it gets approved, and then gets documented with the Office of Graduate Education. So it's kind of a binding contract between you and the school that if you do this, you'll graduate. Okay. Okay, so TARA expectations, I'll revisit this. I mentioned it briefly earlier today. So some of you are teaching assistants and some of you are research assistants. And for TAs, in the first week, you will meet with your instructors that you are assisting to deliver the courses. So some TAs will have 10 hours for one course and another 10 hours for another course. Some will be 20 hours for the same course. I think these are the only options today. It used to be that you can even make 5 hours TA appointment. So you could have 5 plus 5 plus 10, which means 3 courses. But we no longer have that. So you'll be, for a certain semester, you have 1 or 2 instructors that you're assisting. If it's 1 instructor, then it's 20 hours. And you will be putting all of your TA hours in that 1 course. If it's 2 courses, you'll be splitting your time. So you should expect to put less than the 20. So you should be putting 10 and 10. Many instructors will tell you, here's your assignment, and will tell you, here's how much time I expect for those assignments. So they'll have a calculation telling you weekly, I expect you to grade, let's say 1 homework, and let's say hold 2 hours of office hours, or 1 hour, or 2 1-hour office hours. So that's 2 hours grading a homework, let's say, will take another 2, that's 4 hours. Let's say preparation time for yourself to get ready, 1 or 2 hours, and so on. So they will have a budget. And that's the best way I do that with my TAs. So that if they're spending too much time on something, they should tell me. You said I should be spending 2 hours on the grading, but this is like taking 6 hours because it's just the homeworks are really long. So communication is important. If your instructor that you're assisting does not give you an hourly budget for it, you should do it yourself. You should try, and time management is very important for you as a PhD student. So you should assess, keep a counter, rough counter of how many hours you spent TAing for each course and what's the breakdown, so that later you can bring it up with the instructor or with me if you're putting too many hours. I haven't seen student TAs who complain that they're putting fewer hours than they're supposed to. So the issue becomes when they're putting more. Okay, now that's one thing. Now showing up on time is important. So if you have just overall being very professional about the TA assignment. So giving feedback when you're given an assignment. If the instructor sends you an email, you should, because we're so online now, you should acknowledge. You can say, thank you, received it, working on it. Okay. Don't just assume that silence is a feedback. Always send back acknowledgement or negative acknowledgement. Say, thanks, but I don't understand the assignment very well. Could you clarify? Or could we meet to clarify that part? Okay, so always communicate with your instructor for the TA assignments. Don't leave before the semester ends. So Christmas is coming. You want to catch the early flight at the lower fare. The exam week is still going, and you just, we don't know the exam dates yet because the exam dates are set by the registrar closer to the exam week. Don't plan to leave before the exam week is over. Okay. If you want to do that and the instructor approves it, fine. But don't try to pressure your instructor to approve it. Don't tell him, I want to leave early because the flight is whatever, or the, extreme situations are separate, but we all have to do our job. And this is a job you're accepted to take. You're getting a compensation for it as a stipend. You're getting a very, tuition waiver. So there's a lot of investment in that, and you need to do your part.
Yeah. Just echoing that. I mean, that's a good, leaving before the semester ends is a good way to be struck off the TA list, which is what you don't want to be, right? I mean, like Dr. Abuze said, it's a job. We all have to do it. And even if you're staying later in the semester than you would like, that's just the cost of being a TA. That's the job.
Yeah. Now, RA is a different, same general guidelines, but the details are a little different, because with RA, you're doing research for a project, typically externally funded by some entity. It could be a company. It could be a federal agency. It could be a state agency. So some entity, there is a plan of work that needs to be done. There are deliverables that need to be delivered for the funding to be approved for continuation, and so on. So RA is different in the sense that there is external pressure to deliver. Okay, and in many situations, students don't, or if a student is not ready to be an RA, maybe they shouldn't be an RA. They have a lot of preparation background that they need to do, and so on. Because RAs is not about learning, it's about also delivering. So that's a little bit different from just taking dissertation credits. We all take this, you all take dissertation credits in order to do your research and write a dissertation, and that's expected. But in addition, an RA is 20 hours a week. You're expected to work towards a deliverable, just like for a TA, you work towards a deliverable. For an RA, you work towards a deliverable. Hopefully, your RA assignment is aligned with your PhD dissertation. Sometimes it's not well aligned. Sometimes it's a little tangential, but it is a job, and you should expect to deliver something from that RA. And the deliverable depends. Sometimes the deliverable is a publication that you need to publish a paper. Sometimes the deliverable is a product, a code that does something, or an application that does something. It really depends on your, it's a test bed, lab prototype, a circuit that does something. So it really depends on what kind of research you're doing. RAs are also a little bit different because you have deadlines that sometimes fall over weekends. Sometimes they fall over Christmas. And so you really need to coordinate your time off, particularly for RAs, with your advisor. Okay, so you might want to, sometimes because it's project deliverable driven, you might work hard over a certain time just to meet a deadline, and then take a few days off even during the week, okay, because you just finished the big deadline and submitted a fantastic paper for publication on a Sunday, let's say. So these things have to be coordinated. It's not like you have to work every Sunday. That's also not the expectation, but it's a deadline-driven job. And so good understanding and good communication around this, just like regular employees sometimes work off hours, sometimes work extra time during certain times, and so on. Of course, at the end of the day, this is for your own good. This is ultimately everything you do. You should have also your contribution on it, your name on it. When you are the main contributor to a research paper, you are the first author on it. So all of that also pays off to your training as a researcher. Okay, so ECSETA Best Practices is a document available online. This was prepared by the ECSE graduate students, primarily by ECSE graduate students, prepared by and for ECSE graduate students, how to be a good TA, but also how to help yourself with the TA job so that you know how to navigate it efficiently and effectively. So check out this document. It's on our webpage. Okay, so I'll have go over just the program requirements for the PhD pretty quickly. And this is, by the way, one of the requirements is to attend the Mercer lecture series. So I want to mention that. The lecture series doesn't happen every Wednesday, but if it happens between 4 and 5. And if it is in person, it's usually in DCC, which I don't know if you're familiar with the campus yet, but this is a nice lecture room in Darren Communication Building, which is across from our building, from JC. And I think this semester, because we're not allowing people to come to visitors yet to campus, so this will be online. The lecture series, when it's set, it's available online, the schedule. We ask you to attend it. We used to take attendance to make sure you're attending it, and now we just trust that you will attend it. So we trust our graduate students. But if we also see that there are not enough people, we will start taking attendance. So just make sure you attend it. Usually these are distinguished speakers, sometimes National Academy of Engineering awardees, sometimes CEOs and CFOs and CEOs and CTOs of companies. And so you do want to come and listen to them for 45 minutes, just learn how they present, even if the research area itself is not what you want or your area, but you still learn from that presentation. Okay, now I'm going to skip this master's program. I'm going to keep the information here. The requirements, by the way, in for master's or PhD in electrical engineering versus computer systems engineering are the same. Okay, so there's no difference in terms of the requirements that I will summarize next. But of course, the name of the degree, so the name of the degree is your choice completely. But it means it has certain connotations and expectation in the engineering community, what computer systems means versus what electrical engineering means, and that's just tradition. Okay, so if you're electromagnetics, if you focus on nanotechnology and energy, usually that's electrical engineering. But if you're doing computer systems, computer graphics, networking, robotics, imaging, all of these are usually called computer systems. Okay. So we skip the master's and go to the PhD. So let's look into the details if this would actually let me. Oh, there we go. So, so the emphasis in the PhD is on research. Course taking is something that you should do, but you should do with an understanding that you're trying to enhance your depth and breadth in certain areas of research. So you're research driven. So a PhD requires that you declare a major and a minor. Okay. So the major and a minor are satisfied by taking courses. And so that's one requirement. The second requirement is to pass a qualifying exam. And the time that you take the qualifying exam is preset for you. So if you joined with a master's degree, then and you're joining this fall of 2021, then you have to take the qualifying exam in spring. Okay, so your second semester will be the spring. So spring 2022, next semester, is where you will have to take the qualifying exam if you joined with a master's degree. Okay, doesn't matter if you are going to take a master's degree at RPI on your way towards the PhD or not, but if you are accepted in the PhD program, and this is your first semester, and you have a master's from another institution, your semester for the qualifying exam is next semester, and you cannot postpone it. All right. You can take it this semester if you want, okay, but you cannot take it next semester. But you have to take it next semester. You cannot postpone it beyond the next semester. Okay. Now, if you joined only with a bachelor's degree, you don't have a master's degree yet, then you have to take a qualifying exam no later than your third semester, which is fall of 2022. Okay. Now, once you pass the qualifying exam, you will need to form your doctoral committee, and your PhD advisor will help you, will be chair of the committee, and will help you to form that doctoral committee. We'll talk about the composition of the doctoral committee, but it's usually 4 people minimum. And you'll need to, after you form the doctoral committee, write a candidacy proposal, sort of like your dissertation draft. Not really, it's a proposal. And your doctoral candidacy exam is taken next. And fourth semester of doctoral study, I mean, there is no specific date for the candidacy exam. We say approximately fourth semester of doctoral study. And you must have satisfied your major and minor course requirements by that time. So you have plenty of time. You have 2 years or more, 2.5 years to finish your course requirements. Okay, you don't have to finish your course requirements to take the qualifying exam. Okay, so the qualifying exam time is sort of written in stone. There's no way around it. You have to take qualifying exam. Right? And then once you're ready, you will take the final thesis defense. And once the committee hopefully passes you, and then you will submit the dissertation to the Office of Graduate Education, the final dissertation document, and graduate. So this is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 steps that will be your path in the next few years. Okay, and you should really focus step by step. So right now you need to find a research advisor and come up with your plan of study where you take into account the major and minor course concentrations. That's what you need to do now. Interactions with the research advisor will help you to do well in your qualifying exam. So people ask, how do you do well in the research qualifying exam? Start working on research. That's how you do well in the qualifying exam. I'll talk a little bit more about that. And then we can worry about these things later. Okay, as you progress in the degree, you don't need to focus on these 4 and 5 and 6 right now. So, okay, so qualifying exam is usually a major milestone. It's the first milestone you pass in your PhD program. And so that's going to be what you do next semester, or maybe in the spring, depending on whether you join with a bachelor's, with a master's, or with a bachelor's. And so the objectives of the we call it DQE or RQE is to determine the potential of a student to do research. So the potential that you will actually pass or end up getting a PhD from RPI. So it's a sort of a gateway or a check that is useful for you as well as for the department that you understand what it takes and you have what it takes to do a PhD. So let's look at what it's how it's done. So the qualifying exam is really, the doctoral qualifying exam is 2 parts. One is that you take the major minor courses, and we'll talk about that, but that's just course taking. So that is not what concerns me usually from PhD students. You can always take major, you can take, you're good in taking courses. I know that because you're here, right? So got in the PhD program, you're good with taking courses, and that's not really the issue. So the thing that requires a little bit of learning is what is this research qualifying exam? So the RQE is an exam that is done in a semester. So it takes 1 semester. So let's say you are taking the RQE exam in spring. So at the beginning of the spring semester, you'll be assigned 3 examiners, and you'll be given 2 papers. You'll be assigned 2 papers at the beginning of the semester. All the students who are taking the RQE will be assigned 2 papers. Each one of them is assigned 2 separate papers. There's no duplication. Okay, and you'll be given 2 papers, and you'll be given about 5 weeks. And during those 5 weeks, you study those papers. You'll try to understand them and write a report, 5-page report. And then you'll meet with the committee on your exam day, and you will give a 45-minute presentation, and followed by up to 1 hour of oral questions by the committee. So that's one component of the exam. At the same time, your research advisor will write a recommendation which will evaluate your research up to that date. That's another reason why you want to find a research advisor soon. Okay. And all of this, your assessment by the committee and the assessment by the advisor will be provided to the faculty, and the faculty meet and decide on, they vote actually on each individual student whether they pass or not. And it's a majority vote. The majority of the faculty who are attending the meeting pass the student, then the student passes. Now, if the student doesn't pass, then the student gets another try in the semester immediately following that to take the exam. If the student does not pass again, then the student has to leave the program, at least the PhD program. Many cases in those situations, the student has accumulated enough course credits that they actually file for a master's degree and they graduate with a master's instead of graduating with a PhD. That's usually what happens. That's assuming that they've taken enough courses. So that's another reason why you should also be working on the courses in parallel as you're taking your qualifying exam. So you need to be doing a lot of things. You need to take some courses. You need to have some research activity with an advisor, and you need to be responsible with your TA or RA responsibilities, all at the same time. Okay? And that's why PhD is about time management. If you let any of these drop, you'll have trouble. So PhD is about also like keeping each one of these pots somewhat full. Like you cannot drop the ball completely on one of them. All right. So I see students saying, "Oh, I'm so busy with my research, I'm gonna just drop the TA. Let it slide." Don't do that, because that's trouble. If you say, "Oh, I'm such a great TA, I'm spending all my time with students, but I cannot read the papers that my advisor wants me to read," you're gonna run into trouble. Okay? Or you're a great TA or a great RA, and you're not doing well in your exams and the courses that you've taken. Okay, so take only what you can chew. Don't take 3 courses if you cannot handle 3 courses. Take 2. But if you're just taking 1 course every semester, it's very light. It's too light, maybe, right? So that's something you discuss with your advisor, which is why you also need an advisor. All right. So anyway, so it's all about management and putting some effort in each of these things. Okay, so RQE is your first step, and in the RQE there are. So the good thing about the RQE is that these papers that are assigned to you, you'll get to choose the area that these papers will be assigned to, and you're really lucky, okay? Because when I took my qualifying exam at University of Washington, I had no control over what I'm assigned. Okay, so I could be hit with sort of anything. I was like communications or like stochastic systems or information decisions. Like I could be examined with anything. Like the faculty would just ask me anything they want. And right now we have a sort of it's helpful, at least for you, is that there are 3 research areas and 10 concentrations. So the concentrations are the ones in red. And you get to choose one of these concentrations as your research qualifying exam topic. Okay? That's all you choose, really, but it's still better than nothing, right? So you can get to choose control automation, robotics, information sciences, and so on. And your exam will be sort of in that area. You can even provide papers as examples of papers you've been reading. Those papers are not going to be assigned to you. But just as an example to the committee that here's the general area that I'm living in. But understand that the papers that will be assigned to you are not going to be in this pinpoint research problem that you're looking at. We are assessing your potential for doing research. So we're assessing a thought process that you can actually critically read something, analyze it, understand the background, the motivation, and so on. So the worst thing you could do is when you assign certain papers, you talk to the committee and say, I don't like the papers, okay? No, doesn't matter. You don't have to like them. You just have to read them and understand them, okay? So we're assessing your potential. So we're gonna go and see, well, how much did you understand from those papers? Were you curious about those papers? Did you understand why they're doing this research? What was the major achievement? We don't randomly assign papers. We also have we think about what we assign you, and we know that there is a certain angle in those papers that you need to find out. You should be able to understand. Okay.
I think that there was a great word that Dr. Abu Zaid used, which is being curious, right, about the papers. That's something that I think in our experience separates the good students on the exam from the bad students on the exam, is that if you are assigned some papers, and these papers are, even though they may be in your area, as Dr. Abu Zaid said, they are not going to be like your pinpoint area of research. They're going to be possibly weird and unfamiliar, right? And you have to kind of suck it up and read the papers that you're given as carefully as you can, and not just the papers, but also like, if there's some term in the paper, you can expect to get asked on that. So what is this? Like, I'm an image processing guy, so I say, okay, well, there's this edge detection algorithm here that I've never heard of. How does that work? And if you were like, well, I don't know how it works, you had a month to read these papers, right? So we expect you to drill down and track down things that are not familiar to you and explain them back to the faculty who are quizzing you, right? We don't expect you to become an expert in some area in a month, but we do expect this fundamental curiosity about, okay, so maybe this isn't my thing, but I can show that I can explain this well enough to, get challenged on it and show that I really, when I encountered a term, I went and figured out what it was, right? Maybe there are some parts that are too complicated to explain in the time that you're given, but you have assimilated enough to get the gist of it, right? The worst thing is when you're giving an exam and someone asks, well, what about this thing? What's really going on there? And the student says, well, I don't know. I mean, it has something to do with blank, right? But it's clear that they read the paper a few times and they didn't bother to go further in. That's, I think, the differentiator for the RQE, is showing that you can dig in. And that's what PhD study fundamentally is about, is slogging through papers that maybe you don't fully understand the first time you read them, and showing that you have the tenacity to track stuff down, right? So, and your advisor will help you with not the particular papers you have, but will give you further advice about how to approach the RQE.
Yeah. So the process, you're working with a research advisor as soon as possible. That's what you will be doing with a research advisor. Research advisor will give you papers, ask you to read them, and come back and discuss them. So what you're doing with the research advisor, even though they're not the same papers that will be assigned to you, unlikely to be the same papers unless complete coincidence, because your advisor is not involved in the assignment or the RQE and is not part of the committee. So they are excluded from that evaluation. So they provide a separate assessment, but they're not one of the three. So this RQE committee, 3 examiners, they do not include your advisor. Okay, but still the process that you've learned through reading papers, presenting them to the advisor, discussing them, your advisor will ask you questions. So what do you think of this? And so on. That is exactly what you'll be doing with the RQE. So, okay. So the best way to prepare for the RQE is to find a research advisor and work with them. Okay. So we, yeah, that's the balance that we talked about. So I'm going to skip that. So time to degree. So, so I finished my PhD in 2 years. So, and I tell my students, if you are ready to graduate tomorrow, you have dissertation with 3 contributions at least. That's my number. That's my magic number, is 3 journal papers. I'm ready for you to graduate. If you can overnight generate 3 journal papers, write them down, I'm very happy to graduate you, but that doesn't happen. So, so the PhD takes about 3 years beyond the master's, or 4 to 5 years beyond the bachelor's degree to complete. More like 5, not 4, but I've had students also do 4. So the maximum time period, though, is an institute mandate. So the master's degree, then you have 5 years to complete your PhD. If you don't graduate by 5 years, surprisingly enough, you'll be asked to leave. You'll be administratively withdrawn from the program. 7 years after a bachelor's, so if you don't have a master's, you have up to 7 years to complete your PhD. So this is an RPI policy. It's not something that we can change. If somebody has a legitimate reason, of course, towards the end, we can file petitions and so on, but just be aware that petitions are not guaranteed to be approved, and usually they don't, okay? Because the rule is there so that it can be applied. So you don't want to push that limit. And time flies. I was discussing with my student earlier actually this year, one of my PhD students, I was telling him, you need to start wrapping up because this is your 4th year. And he's like, no, it's my 3rd year. I said, no, it is your 4th year. It's like, are you sure? I was like, look, let's count. It's like, oh, okay. So, I mean, it's good. He's having a good time, but you need to finish and move on and get a big salary and and a real salary rather than the small stipend that you're getting. So we want you to graduate, but at the same time, it's not by pushing the limit. So you can't just hang out in the program until the 5th year and hope that you'll be handed a PhD. You have to actually have done progress, have done research, have provided deliverables, and so on. Okay, so that's the time to degree bit. The 72 credits, this, I think maybe discussed that earlier about the plan of study. So 48 credits beyond the master's degree. If you have an MS degree, it will be listed on your plan of study and the number 24 next to it. And that means that you need to accumulate 48 at RPI. The dissertation credits can be 36 credit maximum. And usually students max out on that. And the minimum is not ever an issue of 12 credits. At the end of your study, most likely you've accumulated more than 72 credits total, right? And you will only use a subset of the credits that you've taken at RPI. This is typical also for undergrads, actually. But anyway, so, but the point is that you have the right credits, and the way to guarantee that is from day one, you have a plan of study. And if you go ahead and take different courses than the plan of study, make sure you update the plan of study. Okay. There is a limit on how many 4,000 versus 6,000 courses. I'm not sure if is it 2 to 1 now, or is it 1 to 1? It's 2 to 1 still? Okay. So 2 to 1. So for every 4,000 level course you take, you have to take 2 6,000 level courses. So the majority of your courses on your plan of study need to be 6,000. Now, there could be a legitimate reason for very special cases where you're taking a 2,000 level course, let's say. Okay, so that will count towards your full-time status, but it will not show up on your plan of study. You cannot use that course at all in your degree if you're taking a 2,000, because that's an undergrad. Okay. I still have to edit this a little bit. You must also take at least one math course during your study. So that's a course that has math or a math as a prefix, AMTP or applied math or math department. Usually those courses are 4 credits. So, but you have to have at least one math course. Now, towards the end, you will write a PhD dissertation. There is a template that is given by the Office of Graduate Education that you have to follow. You usually use the same template to write your candidacy exam document, which is a proposal. And yeah, so candidacy exam is done, as we mentioned, fourth, fifth semester, and then you defend when you're ready. So this is sort of the timeline. So these are, the top 2 here are valid timelines. The bottom one is not valid, so I'll tell you why. So let's see, we have plans. Plan 1, is somehow skipped. Fix this quickly. Plan 1, plan 2, plan 3. Huh. This is plan 3, this is plan 1, this is plan 2. Okay. So these are 3 plans. So let's say you joined with a master's. So your DQE is the 2nd semester. Each one of these is boxes is a semester. So you take your DQE in your 2nd semester, and let's say your candidacy is in your candidacy could be anywhere here after DQE. Let's say your candidacy is on your, what is this, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5th semester. Okay, 6th actually. So your candidacy exam is in your 6th. You need to form your committee before taking the candidacy exam. So you can form the committee here, semester, and then take the exam there. And let's say a year after you formed your candidacy exam, you took your thesis defense exam, which is the same semester. You usually graduate in the same semester as you take your defense. There are special cases. Sometimes you take the defense and the committee says, sure, pass, but we want certain changes to happen in your dissertation document. And let's say it's so close to the end of the semester, so you may be allowed to stay another semester just to finish up. But anyway, so this is one standard. If you joined with a bachelor's degree, your candidacy exam, your qualifying exam could be here. Committee could be there. You could leave a gap before forming the committee and actually taking the exam. And then defense is there. So you can see both of these are valid. Now, what is not allowed is that you take the candidacy exam in a certain semester and graduate immediately the next semester. Something to keep in mind. You don't need it right now because you're still really here, but just something to keep in mind that don't delay your candidacy exam by so much that you're almost done to also defend. Your committee should be involved. The idea is your committee should be involved in your research. So if you delay things that to the end, where your candidacy exam was so close to the defense, it sounds like you're not leaving a lot of choice for your committee to direct your research. Okay. So that's it. So that's just the point of this. Any questions? Good point to stop. And so this is your whole sort of 5-year or 4-year outlook. Any questions?
I have a question
Yes.
regarding the DQE. Perfect. As I am like I am a co-terminal student in RPI I'm a student in RPI for 5 years, and I wonder for the course concentration part, the major requirements part for the DQE, because as I read through the handbook, it says that I have to, like, if I choose, for example, if I choose computer system design as
Yes.
my major concentration, I have to take 3 out of the course listed to pass the major concentration requirements. But for example, because as I look at the handbook in computer system design, there are only 3 courses listed, and as I know that there is one of the course is no longer available to us. Several years ago, the course like the advanced VLSI design. So I wonder if this kind of things happen, how can I choose like maybe computer system design as my major concentration if the course is not available to me?
Yeah. So if there is a course that is not available, or there are no courses that are available, you can always ask for that a different course to be used and fill that. That's why there is a form for the major minor form, and once you fill that, you can. That's why we ask you to fill it ahead of time. So there is a solution. Just get a pre-approval for it, where you can take another course.
Okay, I got it. Thank you, Professor.
Yeah. So let's see. Yeah, I did not spend a lot of time on that because I show you quickly.
We did go over that pretty thoroughly in the
Oh, you
session
did?
we did, but
Oh,
but that was an additional question from 4.
Oh, okay.
So, and a very good one, by the way. So
Sure.
yeah, that was not one we addressed earlier, but I did
Okay.
go through the rest of the form with
I
them
just
in
wanted to
pretty
load up
detail.
the forms and so on, but yeah. So what? As long as you can't. Sure where the Adobe is here. So this is the form for the major minor concentrations, and you'll need to list the courses for your major, usually 3 courses, and for the minor, you need 2 courses from your choice of area. And if let's say you don't find that course being offered and no other courses being offered, so you can list a different course and ask for your advisor to sign, and of course I will have to sign, and then you're good. Right. So don't
Okay,
want
I
to.
got it. Thank you.
Yeah. All right. Sure. So back to the PowerPoint. Okay. So the rest of this is just. I think we're done with the. There is a handbook that has all the details of all the policies. You can find it online. Has all the forms. The main thing I want to tell you, of course, there are many links because I'm going to share this set of slides with you so you can have everything is available online. Now, few things about successful graduate students, especially in your first semester. You will need planning and organization so that you can have a rhythm that covers all the responsibilities that you have. If you're TA, you're covering your TA responsibilities. If you're an RA, you're covering your RA's responsibilities. In addition to being TA or RA, you need to take care of your courses, right? And you need to make progress on your research, right? So planning and organization, right? Meet deadlines and so on. That is the number one thing that you will need. And while you're doing that, you need to communicate. Okay? You need to communicate with your instructors. You need to communicate with us you need to find potential PhD advisor, which is about communication and so on. Or if you have an advisor, so communication skills. Long term, you'll need resilience. Okay? So don't give up. Even if something non-ideal happens or unexpected happens, stay with it. Don't drop the ball. We've had students that missed the drop deadline, and they were like so unhappy with themselves, but they kept it to themselves. They just missed the drop deadline. Oh, I missed the drop deadline. I had 2 courses. I signed up for 2 courses and I forgot. Oh, I'm so furious with myself. And they didn't do anything. They didn't write an email saying, I'm sorry, I dropped the deadline. Is there anything that can be done? They waited like a semester later to bring that up when we actually saw 2 F grades on their transcript. So don't drop the ball like that. Say something. You find something wrong, seek help. Tell us, okay, I messed up with this, but is there something I can do? Of course, we'll tell you, oh, you shouldn't mess up, but we'll try to help you. Okay? Because at the end of the day, we're here to really try to reach your potential. Okay, so other things, teamwork, ethics and integrity. Make sure you follow the instructions that are given in courses about when and where you are allowed to do teamwork and when you're not. Also, when you're writing a summary of a paper, realize that even though it is okay in some countries, it's not okay in the US to copy text from a paper, even if it's just general introduction, because you like a certain statement and you like the English, let's say, of that or style of that statement. So you're not allowed to copy it in your paper. Okay? Verbatim copies, you have to put quotes, otherwise it's called plagiarism. You're not even allowed to copy stuff from your own material, so it's called self-plagiarism. And RPI is very strict with these things. Be very careful about these. Okay, and know that we're looking at both knowledge and creativity. So knowledge is course stuff, you know stuff. But creativity is actually knowing how to use that knowledge towards something new. Okay, and that is what the PhD is about. And of course, knowing helps you with creativity. You cannot be very creative without knowing some tools. So that's why you take courses. Okay, so I'll leave that slide for you to think about. And with that, any questions? Some additional resources here. Get in touch with your graduate student council. There is graduate student council events. Also, the graduate student council holds a RQE preparation workshop where the previous students who passed the RQE will come and give you their bits of advice about the RQE, and they might be able to give some different perspective than the ones that your faculty will give. So really very valuable. I would attend that. And they're doing one this semester, but your RQE is not going to be this semester, but if you want to attend it, fine. Or you can attend it the semester where you have an exam. But again, the Graduate Student Council, very insightful resource for you. Okay, and with that, any comments or questions? I know I took more time, but well, it happened. Sorry about that. But any questions? Stop sharing.
I have a question real quick.
Yes.
Would you be able to share these slides and also the slides from the first meeting earlier today? Because I'm definitely going to need to read through all of that.
Sure, absolutely, definitely.
Yeah, got to make sure I have everything covered.
Yep, I will fix just some of the typos and then I'll share it.
Okay, thank you.
Sure.
We'll also have I recorded all of the sessions. So I was going to say, Hussein, do you want me to put those up on the website for them?
Sure.
Perfect. So I'll do that too. They won't be up there forever, but I will put them up there at least for a while for you guys to go back and visit. And then, you know, as always, there's so much information we give you in these sessions. We don't expect you to remember every little detail. That is why there's all the information on the website. We're here to answer questions as well. So, you know, if you forget something along the way over the next however many years you're with us, no worries. We're here to help you guys out. But yes, we'll put the information up for you guys as well.
Thanks.
Also, I will send out another reminder about tomorrow's session, which is your last orientation session that the grad council will be running. I believe that's at noon. So I will send that information out to you guys. And once they give me the details on the RQE session that they're going to hold, I will also send that out.
Yeah, sorry. I mean, we're giving you all the information that you'll need throughout several years in, you know, an hour and a half. So, but it will be there for you to check, and it gives you just an overall picture of where you're heading.
I will also say, I know you guys have been wondering about the TA assignments. They literally just went out now. You guys are all BCC'd on a communication that that we just received.
All right.
Just so you're aware. So Professor Liu was able to get the information taken care of before the start of the semester, which I know he was working very hard on.
Great. Okay, so if you don't have any other questions, you know, enjoy the rest of the day or evening, and we'll be in touch. Thank you. Thanks, everyone.
Thank you.
Thank you.
You're welcome, guys.